So I looked online, I typed online bed and breakfast because I heard North Carolina had bed and breakfast. I do have a hobby of searching for nice places to live when you live in Minnesota, and it's February and really cold. I just go online and where could I live that's nice and warm? And so I just clicked on it, and it just kind of caught my eye. It was a bed and breakfast. It was a really big place. It had a nice pool that looked warm, and it was for sale. And I told Travis about it. I have done that often. I have searched for things that, oh, this is a really nice place to stay, or we could live here, and he's always like, But for some reason, that one night, I told him about this place, and he said, oh, that sounds really interesting. And it was like I knew that God was up to something, because this never happened before. And I went, oh, that's kind of scary, because we couldn't afford this place. It was too big. We would have to uproot our family. It was exciting and scary all at the same time.
I grew up in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. My family moved to Willmar, and then started going to Princeburg in 8th grade, and Becky was in that class. And Becky's very first word she said to me, wearing tie, hello, welcome to Princeburg, it was, oh my goodness, finally there's someone shorter than me in our class. And so I felt really great after that. But Becky hasn't grown since then. I have. So we started dating our freshman year of college. Fast forward, we got married in August of '98. So we've been married 21 years now.
So we had Zeke when we, right after college, and then I struggled to stay pregnant, and then we finally got Chloe, and we always knew we were going to adopt, and then we finally adopted right after the earthquake. Johnson and Joy came home together from Haiti, and then a couple years later we felt led to adopt Elijah from China. So right after Johnson and Joy were home, we lived in a small home that we really liked in Willmar, but we knew we needed a bigger one. So we were praying and praying for a place to open up in the country. So we ended up moving into a beautiful property that was about 10 acres. A river ran through it, and it was out in the country, brand new. It was absolutely beautiful.
We thought we'd live there for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
That was the plan. We were not looking for a change at all.
I went through a time where I was very sick, and I spent a lot of time at home, and I spent a lot of time in the bathroom on the floor. And I think there was one time where we were coming home from a party, and I just felt horrible. And I asked Travis, I said, why do you think God wants me to go through this? Why? He said, well, I think it's because God wants you to go through this so you can help others someday. And I didn't want to hear it at the time. I was a little upset because it was really hard. So I got into natural health, and I started getting better myself, and I had other women that kept on asking me what it was I doing different, or what could they do. So they would come in with me with their struggles and their trauma and their imbalances and ask me what they could do. And now they see me on the other side helping other people, and they can't help but support that.
We first met in high school. Her family had just moved to town.
My dad took a new job in Princeburg, so I was the new kid on the block, but a town of 300. And I met Bud, found out that our parents and our grandparents knew each other from the 1920s already.
We started dating in high school and got married during our college years. And I was a police officer for 15 years.
I finished and got my degree as an RN and had 2 of our kids in South Dakota, moved back to Minnesota, and had 2 more kids. I still stayed working in nursing, he in police, and then we decided to move to Willmar, raise our kids there in the Christian school. And we did that, and then time went on, and we decided to start a ministry in Haiti, and we started Children of the Promise. Lived in Haiti for a number of years, and now other people are taking care of that, and we are just blessed with lots of children and lots of grandchildren. And then this came up, which was very exciting.
I had been seeing clients in my home, and I was just kind of outgrowing that space. Travis and I prayed about it, and we were looking for a new office. So the week before, we were supposed to go to this GPS class. You take a bunch of tests and find out kind of your strengths and your weaknesses. And it just happened to coincide at the same time that we found this property. And so it was all asking about what your passions are, what your strengths are, what is your dream. And in the back of our mind, there was always this place that we just felt a call to, but we didn't know why. People would say, well, what's your dream? Or what's your big idea? And I was like, well, it's this place, but that doesn't, I need a new office, but that doesn't make sense.
So the board looks like, based on your passion, based on your strengths, based on your skills, your personality, all that stuff, you end up with what's the common thread. And it ended up being all the stuff I had been doing from a ministry standpoint. And I said, this is good, but I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something different. So basically the next week, I just took the whole thing down and just put up there, I'm just going to support Becky.
So I asked for a new office, and this is what I got.
I had been here before. In fact, I'd even been at this spot before. I had no idea anyone in the family would consider buying it. I myself have a very adventurous spirit, and so when my kids want to break out and do something else, I say go for it. I know when they first talked about it, it looked like a mountain to move over. But I know they both were able to hear from God. And when they were pursuing it, I thought, well, God will either open or close the doors. And I was amazed at how he seemed to be closing doors, and yet they kept pursuing it, because I know both of them were able to hear God's voice.
My parents told me that they were going to be buying a 25-bedroom inn in North Carolina. At first it came kind of as a shock, because I had no idea that they were planning on moving at all.
I called the realtor.
Yeah, you did.
I told him I'm not really looking to buy it. I'm trying to find out more information, see what triggers. And then I wanted to learn more about the ministry that owned it. So I ended up calling the main inn. They transferred me over to a voicemail. I left the worst voicemail I'd ever left in my life. And I didn't think anyone would ever call back after that. But I got a call back. I told him, yeah, I'm really not really looking. But spoke for only a few minutes. And he said, okay, well, I'll mention it to our prayer network. Well, that was when we knew it was probably dangerous. Shouldn't have called them, because they're going to pray about it, something's going to happen. I called a professional in the industry to talk to him to see, is this a good idea? Went through a lot of the numbers, a lot of the information, and at the end of it he said, you absolutely should not do it. The sort of image that I had, it was of me or whoever, of a person in the ocean hanging onto the ring. The ocean kind of represented God's presence, or more of Him, and the ring represented not Him. It's easy to give God most of me, or a lot of me. The part that He asks us to do, though, is to let go of that ring and give it all up. I mean, He doesn't want just part of us. He doesn't even want most of us. And so, what was that ring? And for me, it was control. You have to let go of everything if if you want to see God do something, you've got to be willing to give up all it is. And that's what our journey was. I mean, it was, you know, it was hard on our family, it was hard on our marriage, it was hard on our desire to control the world around us.
You know, when we look back and just wonder, you know, is God in it? The whole time He was, but that it was so little. Like, it's like when you're fishing and you're like, you know there's fish in the water, but you just sit there and sit there and sit there and sit there. You can sit there all day, but once in a while your bobber will go down a little bit. And you're like, I know there's one there. And you know God is there. You know He's going to answer. You know He's in it. And you know that you know that you know, but there's nothing else around you that's telling you this is going to happen, or that it's going to be okay, or that it's going to be easy.
And we decided, well, we're just going to keep pursuing it until the door shuts.
We knew that this was something God called us to do. And we feel the same way now, that this is just, you know, something that God has a bigger plan with. And I don't think we even know fully what that plan is going to be. You know, we're just kind of following. It feels like you're like jumping in a river and you're just being carried along because God knows the direction it's going.
My parents heard about it, Bud and Jan, and then they said, hey, we heard you guys were looking at this bed and breakfast thing. If you're interested, we'd be interested in doing it with you guys.
Totally blown away.
And we're like, what?
Travis and Becky have always been so quick to always put God first.
I really felt, well, I don't know how to say it, a quickening of the Spirit that, you know, I don't know why or what it was about.
But as always said, is this a good thing or is this a God thing? And if it's a God thing, then it's going to happen.
One thing I always hear from people when I tell them the story is they will say that it's insane and that everybody involved is insane. And it's not really anything short of that either. It's just they decided that they would look into it and they wouldn't stop until the door closed, and it never did.
And it wasn't until July 8th was we finally signed papers and bought the place.
It's humbling to be involved in something you think God has chosen. I think I drew a lot of strength from Travis and Becky, because I think anyone that knew them knew that God loved them and was looking out for them.
You know, I think it's rare in some opportunities where 4 generations still have a wonderful relationship. And so I'm very grateful to be able to be with the families here.
Looking back now, I still can't believe we're here.
It's just, if you know that you're supposed to do something, I think if you have people to back you and to support you, you know you're going in the right direction. It's so touching to have those people know that they've got your back, so you can only go forward knowing that God has a direction for you. You maybe don't know where it is or how to get there, but like so many people behind us have said, it's okay, you can keep on going.